Hello, I'm Matt Galloway, and this is the Current Podcast. Prime Minister Mark Carney has scooped up a fourth MP from an opposition party. Former NDP MP DeLorey Idlout received a warm welcome from Liberal colleagues in the House of Commons yesterday.
I am proud to join a team that will take the larger picture of meeting the current political environment and is set on meeting the immediate needs of the North.
If you're keeping count, that is 3 Conservatives and 1 New Democrat who have crossed the floor since November. And next month, the Liberals could reach a majority government, with 3 by-elections happening in Ontario and Quebec. This weekend marks 1 year since Mark Carney became Prime Minister, and these floor crossers are far from the only political shakeup since then. We have reached 3 former federal strategists to look at the year that was and what is to come. Marci Surkes is former Executive Director for Policy and Cabinet Affairs for Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, and now Chief Strategy Officer at Compass Rose. She is in Mont-Tremblant, Quebec. Fred DeLorey is a former National Campaign Manager for the Conservative Party. He's now Chair and Chief Strategy Officer at North Star Public Affairs. He's in Halifax. And Erin Morrison is former Deputy Chief of Staff to previous NDP leader Jagmeet Singh, now Vice President at Texture Communications, and she is with me in Toronto. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning, Matt.
Erin, let's start with you. DeLorey Idlout said to the Canadian press that she was, in her words, betraying her constituents by staying with the NDP. She also said that the Prime Minister, Mark Carney, promised her nothing. Why do you think she jumped?
DeLorey said that it is a question of who to betray. She was betraying the NDP. She was betraying her constituents. Which does she choose? I think that's a false choice because having been promised nothing by the Prime Minister, by her own account, we don't know that Nunavut will get something better when there's nobody fighting against the government, when there's nobody saying that's not good enough. DeLorey Idlout is now going to stand next to the Prime Minister and say thank you, thank you, thank you, if he gives anything to Nunavut.
And your sense is that he won't? Or, I mean, she believes clearly that he's going to. She believes that that's the better place to be, if you're there with the party that has the power rather than being off on the side.
Arctic sovereignty is critical right now. It's on Carney's agenda. And the Defence Industrial Strategy makes it pretty clear that we're going to see investments in Nunavut. The question is where those investments go. Idlout has previously said she wants them to go to roads, to housing, to schools, to daycares. If that is not Carney's plan, she will be disappointed and she will not have the ability to say, Mr. Prime Minister, this is not what my people want.
Let's talk about where this leaves the party. This comes after the NDP was decimated in the last election, reduced to 7 MPs, now down to 6, could be 5 if their only Quebec MP leaves to provincial politics, which many people seem to believe that he's going to do. They held a press conference yesterday. It was 2 minutes long. And at the end of it, he was asked whether he's the next person to jump, and he walked away. Where's the party now? Where's the NDP?
Fighting, scrapping, hoping to come back.
It's bad news.
It's bad news. You can't put lipstick on that pig. It's bad news. They are weakened, and Mark Carney's majority is assured now, and that will reduce the amount of influence they have. It will reduce the talk time they get. It will reduce the media coverage they get, and it will be even harder. The good news for them is that they're selecting a new leader in 2 weeks, and that will help. That will help them with fundraising. That will help them with touring. That will help them with memberships.
Marci, what is Mark Carney selling that all these MPs are buying?
Mark Carney is selling stability. He is selling economic prosperity. He is selling an agenda whereby he and the government are presenting as mature actors prepared to take on a very complicated geopolitical moment, perhaps the most complicated geopolitical moment in our collective history. He is clearly resonating with Canadians. One needs not look further than the polling from every major polling firm across this country to see that the public opinion research is clear. Canadians trust that he is the man for the job at this time. And I think others are gravitating toward that leadership because they want to be part of the solution. I think right now, every Canadian, whether they're in active politics or not, wants to be part of helping Canada through this time. And so MPs who are sitting on the opposition benches twiddling their fingers, if they are feeling like it's time that they could contribute more, they're saying to themselves, I want to be part of a government and do more. It's very natural. It's very clear what's happening. And this may not even be the last of floor crossings.
We'll talk about whether it's natural in just a moment. But Fred, is your sense that these MPs are running to something, or are they running from something?
Well, that's an interesting question. They're all very diverse, these four MPs who have crossed, very different backgrounds, and I'd say different motivators. It's hard to really figure out what would have driven each one of them, truthfully, individually, to cross the floor, to do that. It's a big move when you do that. It's, I look at Chris d'Entremont here in Nova Scotia. He was the first to cross. Mm-hmm. I've known him for decades. I never would have thought he would have left our family. And that's what it's like. It's, when you're a partisan and Chris in particular, he was someone who worked as a conservative and served as an elected conservative for about 3 decades combined, and almost concurrently. So it is or consecutively, it's it is a very difficult thing to do when you've been around partisan politics to leave your party. But I think all of them would have been individually motivated by something else. I don't think they're all necessarily just going into the same stream together.
But again, that speaks to the question of whether they're leaving something because of the person perhaps who is leading that party or the direction that party is going in. Going to something is different, but to your point, it's a difficult decision to go in the first place.
Absolutely. And, we've heard stories of d'Entremont not working or getting along so well with the Conservative caucus, but Matt Genereux was, I never had that feeling at all. So it was a completely different twist, it felt like, when he left. And Michael Maw, the other Toronto area MP, he was just elected and no one really knew who he was.
Marci, Pierre Poilievre, the Conservative leader, said that Mark Carney is using, in his words, backroom deals to seize a costly majority. You have Don Davies, the interim leader of the NDP, who said that he's concerned with the way Carney is, in his words, trying to stitch together a majority government. There's polling from Angus Reid that suggests 1 in 4 Canadians think MPs who cross the floor should be able to serve out their term under their new party. Does any of that matter to Mark Carney?
Not at this particular moment, no. Look, here's the reality of our parliamentary system, and Fred and I know this. We've both experienced it. Members of Parliament, generally speaking, do feel deep attachment to their parties. It is like a family in most cases. And sometimes people choose to part with their families, but it's rare. And it either comes from a place of deep conviction. For example, they feel like they've lost hope or a sense of belonging within their current political family, and so they choose to leave. Or to your point, Matt, they feel a pull to something else for some reason, whether it's push or pull. It doesn't happen often in Canadian politics. So when it does, it's spectacular. To have it be this many in a row, there's a compounding factor here that is unusual for sure. And I'm sure it does feel like sour grapes to the other leaders. But the truth is, this could happen in different directions. It's not inconceivable that a liberal could go to another party too. So this is the nature of parliamentary democracy. It's well established, and members of Parliament choose where they feel is they are best positioned to represent their constituents, and that can change. And there is nothing wrong with this. This is not forbidden. This is exactly how parliamentary democracy works.
Fred, should we feel sullied by what Pierre Poilievre calls backroom deals?
Look, as Marci pointed out, this happens back and forth quite regularly. Here in Nova Scotia, again, I remember there was 2 Liberal MLAs who crossed to Tim Houston's PC government in the last Parliament. It's I hate it when someone leaves my party, but I love it when someone joins it. So it's that's the way we got to, I think, really look at these things.
Erin, where does it leave the constituents? If somebody voted for Laurie Idlout as a member of the New Democratic Party, and now she's no longer a member of that party, where does that leave those constituents?
Betrayed, hurt, confused.
Or perhaps in a better position to get what they want.
Let's be clear. I'm going to contradict Marci a little bit here, because this is not a case where 4 individuals four MPs just woke up out of the blue and went, oh, you know what? I have this push or this pull and I feel like I need to change parties. This is the case where the Prime Minister has been courting people. We don't know what that looks like. We don't know what promises he's making. We don't know what the conversation looks like. But we know that he's actively going party to party, door to door, MP to MP and saying, come join me.
And is there something wrong with that?
Yeah, there is something wrong with that because, with so much respect to MPs and elected officials, really so much respect, most people do not vote by saying, you know what, I don't care about the party, I don't care about the leader, I'm with Jim, he's my neighbor, I love him, and I'm going to vote for him. That's not how voting works in Canada. People vote for a leader, they vote for a party, they vote for principles.
Marci, last word on this. Do they vote for principles in the party, or do they vote for what they think they'll get out of, not to say that it's transactional, but in some ways that it is, that they think that they're going to get something out of whoever they mark the ballot for?
Look, I think it is largely transactional in a lot of cases. I do think that people vote overwhelmingly for leaders who they believe are best suited to form government and lead the country. And that is certainly what happened last spring in the general election. And so in this instance, the constituents of Nunavut know that they now have a deeper connection than they did 2 days ago to the Prime Minister of Canada, who has been very clear that the North is a priority for him and will continue to be over the course of the tenure. So I think, I don't know that they'll feel betrayed. I think they may feel some relief that they are more connected now to the center of government.
That general election was a year ago. It's been a year since Mark Carney won the Liberal leadership and became the Prime Minister. Fred, what do you think? What's one big thing that he has accomplished in that year?
Well, it feels like he ended up getting himself a majority, as we were just talking about, which is something I don't think anyone saw quite coming. But look, if you look at the polls, if you look where the numbers are, a lot of Canadians right now, and I think the other folks here mentioned this, like, Canadians want him to succeed. We need him to succeed. We all need him to succeed in what he's doing. So I think there's a lot of hope and goodwill that people have for him, and they want to see him continue to do what he's doing. He's starting, I think, he's saying the right things about diversifying our trade and moving our products to market across the world, and he's got to start showing that and delivering that. And I think we're all hopeful that he will accomplish that, regardless of our political stripe.
Do you think he was underestimated as a politician, Fred?
I think so, yes. And I would say, look at what he's done here with the floor crossers, right? Like I would say when he came in, his campaign was, the first few weeks was decent. It was quite good. It was easy on the Trump question. The last week or so of the federal campaign, it felt like he took his foot off the gas, and it left many of us wondering, is he really good at the political side of things? But in the last year, to get 4 very diverse, different people to cross the floor and join you, it's showing us there's something there. There's definitely some political astuteness there that maybe we didn't fully appreciate.
Erin, do you think that people underestimated Mark Carney as a politician? He came in saying that he wasn't a politician, and people thought, well, he's not tested. He hasn't been, that was the phrase, he hasn't been tested. What do you make of the last year?
His numbers are extraordinary. His approval numbers are fantastic. If he decided to call an election today, and I think he will not now call a general election, but if he did, he would walk away with a majority. He's clearly an astute politician.
Do you have any hint that honeymoon is coming to an end?
No, I do see some cracks in the armor, and that is that Prime Minister Carney's words and his actions don't match.
How so?
We get a lot of elbows up. We got that beautiful speech in Davos. Inspiring. Canadians loved that speech. The international community loved that speech. But then we get elbows down. We get canceling the digital services tax because Trump asked him to. We get hiring a border czar because Trump asked him to. We get Carney signing off on unilateral military action on the part of the United States, sort of bending the knee to Trump. And I don't think that's what Canadians asked for. I think they're hopeful. I agree with Fred completely. Canadians of all political stripes want and need Carney to be successful. We are on board. We are all having some existential dread right now, and Canadian feels that. But at some point, this is what catches up to a politician. A politician who's not held to account for saying one thing and doing another eventually will be.
Marci, what would you say the high point of the last year for Mark Carney has been?
The defining moment, I think, is the one Erin just mentioned. It's the speech at Davos. It's the clearest articulation by a Canadian Prime Minister of Canada's foreign policy and view, probably in a generation, Matt, maybe not since Lester Pearson. The coherence of that speech and the resonance for Canadians and, in fact, all around the world, I think is certainly the high point of a year with many memorable moments.
Is the clock ticking on him to deliver? He spoke eloquently and got a lot of praise in that speech. But is the clock ticking on him to deliver things for Canadians in the wake of that speech, do you think?
Sure. I mean, that is now the main question for the government. Its main prerogative needs to be delivery, implementation and delivery, execution. It is one thing to have great and big ideas, which Mark Carney certainly has been clear about communicating to Canadians. But yes, now it's about results, and that's the hardest thing for governments to do. It is very hard in a system as large and as complex as the federal government is to actually manage to demonstrate to Canadians anything tangible. Do they feel better about their own kitchen table questions? Do they feel better about our place in the world? Are we feeling safer? We have a defense procurement agency. We have a defense industrial strategy. Are we feeling safer at home? So those are the quintessential questions that the government now has to wrestle with and contend with. So the first year was about table setting, the ideas, the plan, getting to know Mr. Carney. And it really is Mr. Carney's show. It really is about him much more than the ministry. The second year is going to be about can he deliver for Canadians?
We just have a few minutes left. If he stitches up and the party stitches up a majority government through these by-elections, Marci, what opportunity does that open up for the Liberals?
Well, the biggest thing, I mean, everybody will think about a majority government as some stability over a number of years without an election, and that certainly is true. And that's the primordial concern with why you want a majority government, so that you can get on with the agenda and get to the implementation. But it is also really critical in terms of how the government operates in maneuvers within the Parliament. Having a majority government, having an extra member on each committee of the Commons, where the real business of Parliament happens, is hugely helpful in terms of pushing your agenda through and managing it. So the by-elections suddenly matter a whole heck of a lot. I always say by-elections don't matter unless they do, and in this instant, they matter a lot, and all eyes will be on them.
Fred, if that majority government comes, where does that leave the Conservatives?
Well, I think it's something that they have to reflect on and figure out what is their path. I think it feels like Poilievre is finally on that. I've been saying right after the last election that he should be doing what he's doing now in terms of how he's positioning and talking about Trump and tariffs. Poilievre, the best thing he can have for him going for him right now is time. He needs to, I think, reestablish himself and what is he offering Canadians. And I think right now what he should be offering is what he seems to be offering is cooperation with this government and letting, picking your battles in the House of Commons and not holding up bills that you necessarily agree or don't agree with. But I think ultimately, time is his friend, because obviously if there's an election now, the Conservatives will do very poorly. So I think, we talk about stability, what the majority may do for Parliament and for Canada. It's also stability, I think, for the Conservatives, where they can take a step back and plan ahead for what is coming after this next year or two of this Parliament.
Erin, last minute to you. NDP is in the final few weeks of its leadership race. If there is a majority government, what are the stakes for that party in terms of choosing a new leader?
I think that, first of all, Mark Carney is taking this unusual route of choosing floor crossings and by-elections instead of a general election to get his majority, because he likes the way Parliament looks under the circumstance, with Pierre Poilievre there for another 3 years and safe. He likes that. Carney likes that. And he likes 3 years for the NDP to struggle, to not have an opportunity to go back to the polls and win back a few more of its traditional seats.
But that party has to define what it is, right?
It does. And the three potential winners at the end of the month in Winnipeg have very different visions for the party. We have Avi Lewis pushing far to the left. We've got Heather McPherson pulling the party quite a bit to the right, and Rob Ashton suggesting that we go back to being the party of the workers and the working class Canadians. So it will change the face of the party.
Those are big choices. It's good to have you all here this morning. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having me.
Erin Morrison in Toronto, Fred DeLorey in Halifax, Marci Surkes is in Mont-Tremblant, Quebec.